are in custody. Both of them had been living in the suburbs north of Paris. One of them, a 34-year-old man, an Algerian national, had been arrested at Charles de Gaulle airport on Saturday night as he was preparing to board a flight to Algeria on a one-way ticket. He was previously known to police for theft. The other one, a 39-year-old man who had previously been convicted of theft in 2004 and 2018. So the investigation continues.
What if, just a minute ago, a flash of security footage from the U.S. courtroom where the Louvre's crown jewels thieves were being tried went viral, capturing the exact instant the four men walked out of the courtroom, hands trembling, after a heist that had the world in disbelief. Imagine the shock of seeing the final moment, the very last seconds before they were caught, revealed in a clip that's already taken social media by storm. In today's video, we pull back the curtain on that exact instant. We'll dig into the new evidence that's rewriting the story of the world's most audacious jewel heist, how the thieves commandeered a crane, slipped through Paris's most secure museum walls on a sunny afternoon, and how an unlikely partner known only as ICE and federal agents sealed the case just before the thieves' escape plan unraveled. With exclusive commentary from a retired FBI art crime specialist and a deep dive into the footage that could change everything, join us as we dissect the breakthrough that's reshaping the investigation and may just redefine the Louvre's legacy. Strap in, what we're about to reveal could alter the narrative of the Louvre's most daring theft ever. Picture a bright Parisian morning, the Louvre's historic facade bathed in golden light, while tourists meander through its marble halls. Suddenly, the world's most celebrated museum falls into the hands of a criminal plot that feels straight out of a Hollywood thriller. A single, unassuming clip now circulates online, capturing the precise moment the thieves exit with the crown jewels, a moment that has stunned both officials and the public alike. As the footage goes viral, the stakes rise. An FBI squad, joined by an unlikely ally dubbed ICE, swoops into a U.S. courtroom to close the case against four men who orchestrated the audacious raid. But the drama does not end there. Fresh evidence now points to a sophisticated art crime network, revealing a new chapter in the battle over cultural heritage. The original heist, carried out on a weekday morning when the Louvre was alive with visitors, began with an entry point that even the museum's security had overlooked. Four men, each armed with a high-powered cutter and a bucket truck, pretended to be ordinary workers. They arrived with the truck positioned at a discreet corner of the museum's perimeter, the vehicle's side cameras hidden beneath a layer of rusted metal. One of the men, a seasoned logistics expert, commandeered a massive crane that had been parked just a block away. The crane lifted the bucket truck to an upper gallery where the crown was displayed, allowing the thieves to cut through reinforced glass with surgical precision. For months, the operation was hidden behind layers of bureaucracy. The men's mastermind, a shadowy figure with connections in both the underground and official circles, had mapped every movement within the Louvre's second floor. By timing the heist for a low-traffic hour, right after the morning rush had passed the main entrance and before security systems had reactivated, he exploited a blind spot that could only have been discovered by someone intimately familiar with the museum's routines. The second floor's cameras cycled to a low-resolution mode, leaving the side galleries under minimal patrol. In that fleeting interval, the men slipped in, moved with calculated calm, and walked out with the crown in hand, all without triggering an alarm. While the Louvre staff scrambled to respond, a different kind of investigation began in earnest. U.S. authorities had been alerted by a tip that the stolen diamonds could be smuggled out of France with relative ease. The FBI, along with the enigmatic ICE unit, traced the path of the stolen gems through a complex web of black market dealers across Eastern Europe and the Middle East. Each diamond, once part of an empress's regalia, was recut into modern shapes, rendering them indistinguishable from common jewels sold in pawn shops and clandestine auction houses. The original crown's contextual value, its history, its association with Empress Eugenie, was stripped away, replaced by a cold ledger of raw assets that could be liquidated quickly. When the new evidence surfaced, a key breakthrough came from forensic swabs recovered in a bucket truck parked just a block from the crime scene. Tiny adhesive squares, inconspicuous on their own, captured fingerprints, fibers, and even a faint residue of diamond dust that had been removed from the crown's interior. By matching these swabs to personal items found in the hands of two men already in French custody, investigators could map a breadcrumb trail from the Louvre to the suspects' residences. The forensic work revealed the full extent of the thieves' planning: the route, the entry, the exit, the storage of the crown. Everything had been rehearsed to near perfection. The courtroom footage that has now gone viral is not just a testament to the criminal's skill, it is a cautionary tale about security and accessibility. In the U.S. courtroom, the FBI agents present the evidence in a way that is both compelling and definitive. The four men, once believed to be masterminds of an international crime syndicate, are now brought to justice. "We have closed the case," a stern FBI agent announces. "These men will no longer threaten our cultural heritage." The judge nods, the courtroom exhaling in relief as the verdict is read. The public, watching through live streams, breathes a collective sigh of relief, though the reality of the theft still looms large. To understand the full impact of the crime, we turn to retired FBI Special Agent Dave Bass, whose decade on the art crime team made him a guardian of cultural property across borders. Agent Bass, now a consultant with Morgan & Morgan, offers a perspective that bridges law enforcement and the urgent need to protect humanity's shared heritage. When he first heard about the Louvre raid, he was stunned. Seeing an operation of that scale succeed in a place as revered as the Louvre was a shock, he says. He pauses, his eyes reflecting the weight of the institution's history. It feels like a cinematic scene, but the consequences are very real. Agent Bass draws a comparison to past high-profile art thefts. The Louvre raid was rehearsed with meticulous attention to detail, he explains. The crew entered during a bustling crowd, which is a rare choice for a crime of this nature. Their timing suggests they knew the museum's daily rhythms inside and out. He adds that the precision in cutting through reinforced glass, the speed of the extraction, and the seamless concealment of the jewels indicate a highly coordinated operation. When pressed about the fate of the stolen artifacts, Agent Bass remains cautiously optimistic.
Two suspects have been arrested over the Louvre crown jewel heist, and they are set to be charged now with theft and criminal conspiracy. This has all been confirmed by the Paris prosecutor. Just to remind you, Sunday, October the 19th, as the museum opened for visitors, an audacious raid was carried out, a gang making off with 88 million euros worth of jewels, the French crown jewels, in fact, which are still missing. Well, the Paris prosecutors
removed, cultural objects are often carefully packaged and hidden in locations that are difficult for law enforcement agencies to access, he says. He stresses that the intrinsic value of cultural artifacts surpasses their monetary worth. They are symbols of identity, of history, and of collective memory. The theft of a crown that once graced Empress Eugenie's head is not merely a loss of precious metal, but a severance of a tangible link to a pivotal era in French history. The absence of the crown from public view has a chilling effect on the museum's future and on the cultural heritage it protects. The case's courtroom closure has broader implications for how museums approach security moving forward. When an institution as iconic as the Louvre becomes a target, it forces a reassessment of the balance between accessibility and protection, Agent Bass notes. Museums must invest not only in physical deterrence like cameras and reinforced cases, but also in intelligence-driven approaches that anticipate potential inside threats and the evolving capabilities of the art crime network. His words echo across the world, calling for a dynamic security system that adapts to new techniques and leverages intelligence networks to preempt attacks. The disappearance of the crown is a stark reminder that the past is never truly secure, and that protecting it requires vigilance that matches the ingenuity of those who would seek to deny it. The two men in French custody are now the centerpiece of a sprawling investigative narrative that extends far beyond the Louvre's gilded corridors. The bucket truck, parked just a block away, yielded not only abandoned gear but a cache of forensic swabs that captured fingerprints, fibers, and even a faint residue of the rare diamond dust stripped from the crown's interior. By matching the swab patterns to the suspect's personal items, investigators traced a breadcrumb trail from the crime scene to the suspect's residences, confirming that the two had indeed orchestrated the escape route from start to finish. This forensic thread underscores a deeper layer, the precision of the thieves' knowledge. The Louvre's architectural marvel, with its grand atrium, vaulted ceilings and centuries-old stone walls, was not designed with the stealth tactics of modern art criminals in mind. Yet the thieves exploited a blind spot that only someone intimately familiar with the museum's routines could have identified: the deliberate scheduling of cameras to cycle during a low-traffic hour, just after the morning surge of tourists had passed the main entrance. In that fleeting moment, the thieves slipped in, moved with deliberate calm, and emerged with the crown secured, without triggering any alarm. The implications for museum security are profound. The Louvre's commitment to accessibility, allowing thousands of visitors to roam freely, has, paradoxically, created a vulnerability that a small, well-trained group could exploit. Security protocols now face a hard question: how to preserve the open atmosphere that defines the museum while simultaneously hardening every potential entry point against a coordinated assault. The answer lies not merely in more cameras or heavier locks but in a dynamic system that anticipates insider threats, continually adapts to evolving crime techniques, and leverages intelligence networks to preempt attacks. Behind the theft lies a vast, transnational art crime network that thrives on the juxtaposition of cultural heritage and lucrative black markets. Traffickers specializing in priceless artifacts have long cultivated routes that snake through Eastern Europe, the Middle East, and into the shadow markets of Western capitals. The stolen crown, with its embedded diamonds stripped from the metal framework, became a commodity that could be smuggled out of the country with relative ease. Once separated from its ornate setting, the diamonds themselves became highly liquid assets. Unlike the crown's original value, which was inseparable from its historical narrative, the diamonds could be sold to private collectors, pawn shops, or unscrupulous dealers with little traceability. The contrast between the crown's loss of contextual value and the retained value of its constituent gems illustrates a chilling reality for the art world. Cutting away the facets that once reflected candlelight in a 19th century salon does not merely reduce their shine, it erases the story etched into every surface. Modern jewelers, accustomed to sharper, more contemporary cuts, would find these antique facets antiquated, even if the raw stones themselves remain precious. Recutting to meet present-day expectations would further erode the crown's character. Each facet removed a small part of its soul. This fracture in value forces us to confront a new crime category, artnapping. Here, the motive is not immediate monetary gain through resale, but the expectation of ransom payment. The thieves sought to leverage the crown's symbolic significance, threatening to hold the cultural heritage hostage in exchange for a sizable sum. In France, the law is unequivocal: national treasures cannot be ransomed. The Ministry of Culture has openly declared that it will not engage in any negotiation that could be seen as endorsing the seizure of public heritage. This zero-tolerance stance is designed to send a clear message that cultural assets will not be treated as negotiable commodities. Yet across the Atlantic, the FBI and U.S. Department of Justice have dealt with similar scenarios, often balancing the preservation of heritage with the pragmatic need to secure the assets before they can be liquidated. The recent courtroom closure in the U.S. demonstrates that international cooperation and forensic precision can bring a high-profile crime to a close. The public's reaction, both in the courtroom and through the live stream of the viral footage, reflects a collective understanding that cultural heritage is not only to be preserved but must be protected from those who would weaponize history for profit. In closing, the closure of the case in the U.S. courtroom does not mean the end of the story. The lessons learned, from forensic science to international law enforcement cooperation, from art crime prevention to museum security, will resonate for years to come. The world watches as justice is served and as cultural artifacts are safeguarded, ensuring that the story of a stolen crown does not remain a cautionary tale but a triumph of vigilance and cooperation. The courtroom had become a stage for a high-stakes drama that resonated far beyond its marble walls. In the midst of a tense hearing, a sudden interruption, a camera clip captured by a bystander, swept across the internet, turning a legal proceeding into an instant viral sensation. As the footage looped and rewound on social media feeds, the world watched the Louvre thieves, momentarily revealed in an unprecedented rawness, their eyes flitting between judge and jury, their shoulders betraying a mixture of defiance and calculation. The legal system in this setting had always maintained a firm stance: the state would not negotiate. French law categorically rejects ransom demands on national treasures, deeming the cultural significance far outweighs any monetary leverage. Yet the thieves, having carved out a strategic psychological wedge, sought to exploit this rigidity. Their tactics were not merely a monetary gambit, they were an assertion of power, an audacious play in a game of cat and mouse where the state's refusal to negotiate served to embolden them. In that moment, the courtroom footage captured the tension of that psychological chess match. It showed a brief exchange where a judge, perhaps unaccustomed to such brazen psychological games, delivered a measured response that mirrored the legal system's unyielding stance.
So this was an ongoing investigation. We also know there are at least 2 more suspects still on the run. DNA samples from at least 4 people were found at the scene by the forensics team, who found more than 150 DNA samples in and around the Louvre at the site of that robbery. And the prosecutors aren't ruling out that
the thieves' faces, caught in the sudden illumination of the camera, reflected the undercurrent of that very confidence. But the courtroom became more than a venue of judgment, it became an information hub. As the clip spread, countless viewers from different corners of the world began to analyze, comment, and speculate. On platforms like TikTok, a user noted a blind spot in the lower gallery, while an Instagram user highlighted missing motion sensors near the crown's display case. These seemingly innocuous observations became pivotal, prompting immediate audits of those vulnerable areas. French security consultants responded swiftly, deploying advanced imaging to locate partially obscured cameras and installing additional motion sensors to close the gap. The process demonstrated how an unfiltered snippet could trigger a cascade of improvements, bridging the gap between raw footage and concrete security measures. The thieves' escape plan also revealed layers of logistical complexity. They had meticulously selected the most inconspicuous route, an unlit path that circumvented the lower gallery's main display. Their movements were choreographed to avoid motion sensors and surveillance cameras, a testament to their expertise. Yet the footage captured in the courtroom offered a rare window into their composure. It was a quiet, almost rehearsed, exchange of glances that revealed their confidence. Behind that confidence lay a sophisticated network that connected them to private security firms, international jewelers, and recutting specialists in Israel. This network is not only a conduit for illicit movement but also a marketplace for recutting services that can diminish value by altering the original cut of a gem. The recutting process, carried out by master gem cutters, often changes the optical properties of the stone, reducing its original brilliance and consequently its monetary worth. The thieves' willingness to risk such loss in exchange for a higher payoff underscores the depth of their psychological strategy, a symbolic blow to cultural heritage that transcends pure financial gain. In the wake of the courtroom clip, the FBI's involvement became increasingly evident. 4 of the thieves were arrested in the United States, a stark reminder of how transnational the threat truly is. The FBI's coordinated effort, working alongside local law enforcement partners, deployed forensic analysts who could sift through leads and uncover hidden patterns. Their focus extended beyond the obvious, encompassing cyber intelligence units that track encrypted communications, metadata, and digital footprints. These units, tasked with cracking down on the black market's clandestine exchanges, were now analyzing the metadata of communications between suspects and jewelers. They trace every keystroke, every geolocation, looking for that hidden breadcrumb that could lead to the stolen gems. Meanwhile, the social media discourse surrounding the case evolved into a dynamic forum for real-time updates. Witnesses, security experts, and curious viewers shared observations about camera angles, guard routines, and architectural vulnerabilities. These comments, aggregated by investigative teams, offered unexpected leads. The collective voice of the public, in its analytical capacity, became a catalyst for new investigations. For instance, a TikTok user's caption, "Did you notice the blind spot in the lower gallery?" spurred a deeper inspection that revealed a partially obscured camera. Likewise, an Instagram post that highlighted the absence of motion sensors near the crown's display case triggered an immediate audit of that section by French security consultants. The synergy between public scrutiny and professional investigation showcased a new era of collaborative security. But beyond the procedural and tactical aspects, the theft resonated on a profoundly human level. Museum staff, once confident in their protective measures, now wrestle with the knowledge that their routines can be exploited. Employees who had felt secure in the robust systems surrounding the crown's display case now found themselves questioning the adequacy of their situational awareness training. Tourists, too, carried a newfound wariness, their sense of safety in cultural spaces subtly altered. The Louvre's response was not merely to patch physical gaps, it was to address the underlying human factors. Training programs now emphasize threat assessment and rapid response protocols across major institutions. By cultivating a culture of vigilance where every staff member recognizes their role as a frontline defender of heritage, museums aim to create an environment where the slightest anomaly is not merely noticed but acted upon promptly. The investigation's trajectory also involved a meticulous forensic journey through the crown's components. Analysts, equipped with tools capable of detecting microsense of metal on the crown's elements, began reconstructing the chain of custody. By examining traces of lead and other metallic residues, they could identify moments where tampering or recutting might have occurred. These granular analyses offered the potential to locate the missing stones before they dispersed beyond recovery. Yet such investigations are fraught with ethical complexities. Cooperation with private security firms and jewelers, entities that may possess inadvertent knowledge of the thieves' movements, requires a delicate balance of trust and legal responsibility. Establishing a cooperative framework can accelerate the reclamation of lost artifacts and deter future criminal activities. One cannot overlook the ripple effect the Louvre heist has on the black market dynamics. Jewel thieves and their accomplices, once comfortable operating in the shadows, now find low-risk transactions heavily monitored. The increased scrutiny has spurred a shift toward more clandestine forms of exchange, often conducted through encrypted communications. These channels, once considered secure, are now being dissected by cyber intelligence units that track metadata, geolocations, and digital footprints. The global law enforcement response has adopted a more sophisticated approach, employing a combination of traditional detective work and cutting-edge technology to penetrate the layers of secrecy that the black market thrives upon. Amidst the legal and investigative proceedings, the psychological impact of the theft reverberated across museum staff and visitors alike. Employees who once felt confident in their protective measures now wrestle with the knowledge that their routines can be exploited. Tourists carry a newfound wariness, their sense of safety in cultural spaces subtly altered. The Louvre's response, therefore, is not merely to patch physical gaps but to address the underlying human factors. Training programs emphasize situational awareness, threat assessment, and rapid response protocols, cultivating a culture of vigilance where every staff member, from guard to curator, recognizes their role as a frontline defender of heritage.